afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Tuesday Talk. We're fixing to go out here and mow our furthest out property from the rest of everything. I try to keep all my yards clustered, within a 5-mile radius, 10 mile at the most, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. And this lady has been real good to me. We're going to go out here and take care of this yard, but I wanted to talk about something that's in the industry, going on in the industry right now that been kind of divisive a little bit, and I've talked about it before. Gas-powered equipment versus battery-powered equipment. Seems like that's the big, the big new debate that everybody wants to have. It used to be like, gas-powered versus, or not gas-powered, I'm sorry. It used to be like walk-behinds versus zero turns, and then it was stand-ons versus zero turns, and automation versus manual control. I'm sure that'll be the next big thing coming up. But one thing to think about, a lot of people talk about, that I see anyway, talk about battery power, and they're saying they're going, they went green and everything, and that they're doing this for the environment and all this and whatnot, because the hazards of gas-powered equipment and all this and that, and that's not really true. I mean, battery-powered equipment isn't necessarily better for the environment when you take into account things like, lithium and how hazardous it is to mine the stuff that makes the batteries. The things that make that battery possible, are things like lithium and precious metals, rare earth materials, minerals and whatnot that are, quite frankly, very tough to get out of the earth, and they in many countries, they strip mine the planet, to get that stuff. And even in the United States, where I'm at, the EPA will not allow lithium to be mined. It's too hazardous and too destructive on the earth. Which, that should tell you something right there, and that, and you got to think about the moral quandaries of, battery-powered equipment and everything. You're talking about, parts of Africa and other third world countries that are, basically using child labor, to harvest minerals and materials for these batteries that we're using. So, you see pictures and videos and whatnot of, this little kid's in this, sitting in the ground, on top of all this, material, heavy metals, that kid's probably going to develop cancer and other problems, early on. But that's, in that part of the world, slave labor is very common. Still very well, still, the norm to do. So, thinking about battery power and everything, where we go from here as far as the morals and the, impact we have on the earth, it's worse for the earth, realistically, than it is to use oil. Oil and gas. So the question becomes, if we're not going to battery for the earth and for going green, as they call it, why go battery? Why do it? Well, for me anyway, the answer is because of my health and my abilities now, that Obviously, as you know, I was hurt last year, so I went through that. But I also am experiencing, from prolonged use of, recoils and everything. I've experienced, pain in my shoulders, pain in my wrists, and my, elbows, but mostly my wrists and fingers, from vibration, because the gas-powered equipment, it's a small engine, so there's vibration going around, whereas a battery-powered trimmer, there's no vibration, hardly any vibration at all, even on a combi system. It's just running. You can sometimes barely tell it's running compared to a gas-powered trimmer. That, and I suppose there's a convenience aspect to it. Just being able to push a button and go. That's to a lesser extent. That's a factor. But I know a lot of people, on both sides of the spectrum. There's some people, I'll never use gas-powered equipment, and okay, that's fine, that's your right. I wouldn't argue that with somebody, if they said they're not going to use a certain brand. It's kind of like arguing brands. Some people aren't going to use a certain brand. That's fine. There's other options out there. But then there's also people that say, gas-powered is ancient and it's going to go away, and I'm never going to touch a gas-powered equipment again. Okay. Realistically, they're still, ways away in terms of for mowers and big backpack blowers and whatnot. You're still going to need gas-powered stuff. Don't kid yourself. But and for me, the reason I'm using battery-powered equipment now is for my hands and my shoulders and my back, and for my physical health. It has really nothing to do with the environment and going green and everything. I don't want to say I don't care about that necessarily, because I do care about that, but I also know, what goes into making these batteries, and how they're really not the green thing that everybody touts them to be. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is go battery if you want to, but do it for your health and your well-being here, not for some, mercurial reason like the earth and the environment and everything, because it doesn't matter. That's not gonna do anything. That's all I wanted to say now. Good luck and have a good day, everybody.